In this bulletin, MOH implements mitigation phase for the West. 15-year-old among COVID fatalities. And NGOs continue assisting the needy.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Atera Lendua.
Good afternoon, Fiji. Due to the increasing number of COVID-19 cases in the Western Division, the Ministry of Health has had to adjust its health services strategy to mitigation phase. Health response teams in the West will now be redirected to the identification and close monitoring of people with COVID-19 symptoms who are at higher risk of developing severe illness. Clearance testing will no longer be required for primary contacts, and positive patients are now required to self-isolate at home. Pregnant women experiencing COVID-19 symptoms need to visit a screening clinic for testing, and if they test positive, care by the health teams at the screening facility will be provided. All major health facilities will continue to remain fully functional in all subdivisions in the West, providing emergency services, admissions, and inpatient care. LAUTOKA is now classified as a red zone with an influx of COVID-19 infections as well as death from the area. Rokotui Nadronga Seru Ratukalo says mostly the unvaccinated elderly from various villages have succumbed to the deadly virus. Ratukalo says LAUTOKA once considered the safest spot in Vitilevu when the second wave of the pandemic hit Fiji is slowly turning into an area of peril with over 70 positive cases and 7 deaths so far. The Provincial Council is working closely with the police and the Health Ministry to ensure people in the province strictly adhere to the community lockdown measures for the next 3 weeks.
We applaud the initiative of village lockdown initiated by the Ronwa themselves, and we request to our villagers if this can be followed and respected in view of our quest to cushion the 3 weeks in anticipation towards our second jab.
A 15-year-old was among the 11 deaths reported between August 2nd and 5th. The deceased is from Tavua. She presented to a medical facility in respiratory distress and was transferred to the LAUTOKA hospital. Her family reported that she had a fever and shortness of breath prior to presentation. The Ministry of Health says clinical investigation reveals she was positive for both leptospirosis and COVID-19, and her condition worsened a day after admission. Her doctors have determined that both diseases contributed to her death. 9 other deaths were above the ages of 50, and they all died at home. The increasing daily COVID cases and deaths has left many families struggling, but the local NGOs have been reaching out to help them where possible. Helping Hands Fiji has been providing assistance to most of the families in isolation. LAUTOKA coordinator Natasha Sayad says they are also psychosocial support to these families.
In Suva, we are reaching out to COVID-positive families with food essentials. That is, on a weekly basis, we help close to 100 families that is being assisted in the Suva and Nosori corridor with food items and baby essentials. We recently have been getting requests for the COVID funeral assistance, as a lot of families don't have funds and resources due to this pandemic. So we get in touch with the family members. It's either we send them money or we arrange items for the funeral and send it over to them.
Fiji will not drop its prices drastically if borders reopen in December. This has been stated by Tourism Fiji Chief Executive Brand Hill, who further says they're not worried about competition from other destinations as Fiji is a strong brand. Speaking to FBC News exclusively from Australia, Hill says he is confident that tourists will be wanting to come over to Fiji when borders open.
People be prepared to pay the money. That's the experience that I've seen around the world, is that there is a lot of pent-up demand. So I don't think we will have to drop our prices dramatically, which is a good thing. And I feel really, really confident that the proposition that Fiji has, even though we've got competitors, no one is quite like Fiji.
The Fiji Women's Crisis Center received a year's worth of domestic violence-related calls in 4 months during this pandemic. Ali says that the trend of calls coming in is worrying and signifies a bigger problem in the community. Feminists have called this situation a crisis within a crisis and have called on people to be more compassionate towards one another as Fiji battles a growing pandemic.
About 700 calls a month, about 70% are domestic violence, the rest are for other things.
And to our latest COVID-19 update for today, Fiji recorded 968 new COVID-19 infections for the period ending at 8 a.m. yesterday. 292 cases are from the West and 676 from the Central Division. The Ministry of Health also recorded 11 new COVID-19 deaths between August 2nd and 5th. 8 deaths were in the Central Division and 3 in the West. Fiji has recorded 34,818 cases since April this year. There are now 32,226 active cases in isolation, with 11,233 recoveries in total. The COVID-19 death toll stands at 283. The vaccination campaign also continues around the country. As of yesterday, 504,695, or 86% of the population, have received their first dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine. 170,901, or 29%, have received their second dose. The 5 most vaccinated areas include Ba, Rewa, and Nandronga, which are now 100% first jabbed. Next are Nandi and Naitasiri. Rewa also tops the list of the most second jabbed province. Up ahead, Commission looking on to pay cut. Welcome back. The Fiji Sports Commission is looking at a 20% pay cut for all international coaches. These include Gareth Baber, Fiji Pearls coach Gianni Brazel, and football's Fleming Scheretslev. So far, the Fiji Sports Commission is paying the salaries of 4 international coaches, including 3 local coaches who are internationally recognized.
Yes, I'm looking
the
forward
Commission
to
had been granted $4.1 million this financial year. It has re-looked at its strategic plans for this financial year due to the pandemic.
There's a realization of the current situation. It's very hard, especially right at the moment. We have the policy that sports won't get back into action until everybody's got the double jab.
The 41 players named in the Fiji Mbati extended squad on Monday now don't have to confirm their availability as per the deadline tomorrow. This after the official confirmation today that the Rugby League World Cup 2021 has been postponed. Flying Fijians halfback Frank Lomani has signed with English rugby club Northampton Saints. This was confirmed by the club yesterday, as Lomani is expected to arrive in September in time for the start of the new Gallagher Premiership campaign. Belarusian Olympic sprinter has spoken to Reuters about the reasons to defect while being taken to a Tokyo airport. The sprinter refused to go back home because of safety fears. Generally, fine conditions are prevailing over most parts of the country. Outlook for the weekend is much of the similar conditions. That's FBC News now. Join us for our 1-hour major bulletin at 7 p.m. And be sure to download our FBC app to access the latest in news, sports, and live radio broadcasts from any of our 6 FBC radio stations. You stay safe and good afternoon.